Here we're going to continue constructing frequency distributions. This is very similar to the previous example. It states that the Student Services Department at your school polls 40 students and asks each student if they had a cold last semester, how many days did the symptoms last? And the following list is a list of the responses, and we have a list there, and it already tells us that there were 40 students, so there are 40 different responses here. Then, of course, it says construct a frequency distribution table and a relative frequency distribution table describing the number of days students experienced cold symptoms due to the common cold. And again, a frequency distribution is a number count, and a relative frequency distribution is a percentage of the number of times something occurred. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to put down symptoms here. And again, I'm using a graph paper here. You should too. It keeps everything nice and organized if you haven't figured that out by now. But now, instead of listing 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, and 5 days, I'm going to kind of group them in a set number of days. So rather than 3 days or 2 days, I'm going to do 3 to 4 days. So how about if I go 3 to 4 days? And then I just go through here and I look for 3 and 4 and then list how many there are for the frequency. So I'm going to keep that consistently all the way through. So 3 to 4 days, then we'll say 5 to 6 days, 7 to 8 days, 9 to 10 days, 11 to 12, 13 to 14, and then for the last one here, I'm just going to say greater than 14. That's okay, we can do that because as we go through here, you'll see how many there are. And then of course, I'm just going to go ahead and put in the frequency. And I'm going to shorthand it again as just FREQ, shorthand for frequency. Then we go through here. I count up all the 3s and 4s. Here's a 4, there's 1, 2, and I think that's all there is. So there's only 2 where symptoms last between 3 and 4 days. Then I do for 5 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So 5 students responded that they have between 5 and 6 days of symptoms. So as I go through this, I have 11 for 7 to 8, 11 for 9 to 10 days, 8 for 11 to 12, 2 for 13 to 14 days, and only 1 that was greater than 14 days. Now for our relative frequency, of course, we don't have to count things up anymore. We already have everything counted. I'm just going to put down in here REL, relative frequency. I'm just going to shorthand it. Now we know that there's 40. It says that we have 40 students. I'm going to count these up just in case. 2 and 5, that's 7, and 11 more, that's 18, and 11 more, that's 29, 8 more, that's 37, 38, 39, and 40. So there is 40 here. So then for those who experience symptoms between 3 and 4 days, that was 2 out of the 40. That's 5%. Those who experience between 5 and 6 days of symptoms, 5 out of the 40, 12.5%. And I do that for each one. 11 out of 40, 27.5%. Another 11 out of 40, 8 out of 40, 2 out of 40, that's 5%. And then, of course, 1 out of 40, that's 2.5%. So there's our frequency distribution and our relative frequency distribution of this data.